The ALM Accelerator for Power Platform is a Power App that the PowerCat team created to make application lifecycle management easier. And today, Mike Ochs is going to show us some of its newest features and how it can make deploying your Power Platform solutions push-button easy. Today on PowerCat Live. Welcome to PowerCat Live. My name is Phil Topless with the PowerCat team, and today I'm here with Mike Ochs. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Phil.
So I've known you for a long time. I'm glad to finally talk to you in this setting. So you don't work for Microsoft, but you're a Microsoft MVP, and you've been working on the ALM Accelerator for Power Platform. What is that?
So the ALM Accelerator for Power Platform is sort of a layer over top of Azure DevOps pipelines, and it's an open source project that we are developing, sort of using the tools that we're building. So we're eating our own dog food. The ALM Accelerator for Power Platform was actually built by the COE Starter Kit team for the COE Starter Kit team. And we've open sourced it to allow other people to use it as well. So it's essentially, an accelerator to get started with Power Platform application lifecycle management, to source control your solutions, to move those solutions from one environment to another, to ensure that in those downstream environments where you deploy that solution, it's in a working state and that it's able to be used without anyone going in and trying to manipulate it in that downstream environment.
Yeah, that makes sense. And doing it manually is tough. It's easy for the first environment, but I've got a customer that has 9 environments between dev and prod, right? You don't want to do that manually.
Yeah, and it's also error prone, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you need consistency. So the ALM Accelerator for Power Platform has existed for a little while now, but you're working to make it easier too. What are the things you're doing?
So we started out, and the last time that you had talked to Mark Schweigert about the ALM Accelerator, we had 2 sort of flavors of ALM Accelerator. We had the ALM Accelerator for makers and the ALM Accelerator for advanced makers. We're working to unify that experience. And there's reasons why we had 2 accelerators initially, but we focused the majority of our attention on the advanced scenario, and we're rolling in the maker experience into that advanced application now.
So can you show us a little bit about the changes you've made?
Sure. So this will look familiar to anybody who's used the advanced accelerator in the past. What will look different is a couple of things. Up here in the corner, I've actually got an experience toggle, and I can move between my advanced maker and my maker experience. Now, I'm an administrator in this environment, so I have the ability to sort of see all experiences in the app. Mm-hmm. But if we look at somebody else who doesn't necessarily have that, what you'll see is I just jumped over to Nat. I was Johanna before. What you'll see is that drop down's not here. So Nat's been assigned a specific profile, and Nat happens to be a maker and not sort of the advanced maker. Mm-hmm. So Nat loses some functionality. However, it makes it simpler now because you can assign these profiles and these user settings to specific groups of users based on their experience level. And you can start to churn those things on too as people get more familiar with the ALM process. So if you have people who are a little bit scared of the ALM process, they don't want to create pull requests. They don't know what a pull request is. They don't want to export to Git, for example. We've tried to simplify this down to say, save solution. And now you just enter some notes and hit go on that. So that's what we've been working towards to unify those 2 experiences.
So behind the scenes, when you click Save Solution there's a lot going on to prepare this for deployment. So what's happening?
The first step in the Save Solution, and in this case, I am using the maker experience as Johanna. I've jumped back at this point. And if I say this is ready to go, the first thing I'm going to have to do is prepare the solution. And what Prepare Solution does is it actually goes and looks at all the components in my solution. It looks for things like connection references, environment variables, apps, Canvas apps that I have in my solution that I need to share in those downstream environments, or I need to wire up in those downstream environments. So as you can see, we have our 3 sort of stages here. We've got a validation, a test, and a prod. Those are our target environments that we would be deploying this to. And we've got two connection references here. They're already wired up because I already have a connection in that downstream environment. It'll pick it for me. If I happen to not have one, I can create a new one from here. And that'll actually land me right in the target environment. So this is our validation environment. I can create a new connection and I can wire that one up. So we're done there. Come back and we'll see if I hit refresh, there was one there before.
Right.
And now I have two. In addition to that, environment variables, being able to set these in the downstream environment based on what environment they're going to. These are just sort of your standard string and number in JSON, but we also have data source environment variables in here. So I have a SharePoint data source environment variable that I can specify downstream, and I can pick the site as well as the specific list that I want that to go to. And then also we have app sharing. So you can share with a AAD group. You can set the permissions on what that app or what that group of users should have access to in that downstream environment. And then the final one is component ownership. So these are all of the flows that are in my solution. I can specify who should be the owner in that downstream environment of those flows. And then we would repeat this process for each of the environments, hit save and close. And then that'll bring us back to here and we're ready to save our solution and actually commit all of that information into source control to prepare it for to be published or deployed. And
so that makes further deployments easier then. The deployments themselves are happening in Azure DevOps, is that right?
That's correct, yes. All of these sort of the buttons on top of this app are ultimately calling Azure DevOps pipelines. And so we've not tried to rebuild the things that Azure DevOps is good at.
Yeah.
We've simply put a layer over top of that. So if I were to, for example, switch over to my advanced maker experience, and I'll show you right here, you can see I can't actually drill down into this, but if I switch into the advanced maker experience, I now have the ability to drill into this. So I can actually look at the last time this was exported, and I can dive right into the Azure DevOps pipeline that was responsible for source controlling that. And likewise, I can do the same thing for my deployment pipeline. I can see that this pull request specifically, we used a pull request in order to deploy it. Here's my pull request, and we can see the status of that and all the details. One other thing that's kind of cool, and this is what really enables in the new maker experience, the ability to collaborate. So I can see everything. I'm basically seeing all of the statuses of the things I've done recently here. But if I actually drill down in and look at the details of this, I can see what other people have done as well. So I can see that Nat deployed the solution on this date, and I can see specifically what branch Nat pushed that deployment into. And, in the case that somebody, I committed the solution here, if Nat were to come in here and see that I committed the solution on a specific date, Nat could go ahead and pull down my latest changes. So this really enables the ability for sort of team development in Power Platform.
So I have to ask then, you showed us Azure DevOps and how it integrates with Azure DevOps. There was another version that was built on top of GitHub. Where does GitHub fit into all this?
Right. So good question. We started off with this experience was built on Azure DevOps. Mm-hmm. The ALM Accelerator for Makers was built on top of GitHub workflows. We made a conscious decision, several months ago to sort of start to sunset that, that particular app because we wanted to kind of bring all of that goodness into a single place and give people the choice. And rather than investing in two separate apps and trying to maintain two separate code bases, right, we decided to start to pull all of that goodness into this app. And we've already started porting over our Azure DevOps pipelines to GitHub workflows. So we're in the process. We're not there yet, but soon after this release, which is the December release, we'll be starting to work towards that as well.
This has come so far since we last saw it. Thanks for showing it. If someone wants to go and get a hold of this and try it out on their own, where do they go?
So as I mentioned, it's all open source. It's out on the COE Starter Kit GitHub repo. You can go try it now. You can check out the latest release, and give us your feedback. We've got discussions enabled in the GitHub repo. We've got issues enabled. So please provide feedback. A lot of what we've done recently is a result of the feedback that we've gotten from our private preview members.
And we have links to how to get the solution file for this and the docs itself in the description. So if you do want to try it out, it's all down there for you. Mike, thanks for taking the time. It's always good to talk to you. And it's been so long since I've seen this. There's been a lot of work that's happened in the ALM Accelerator. So thanks for showing it.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil.